Okay, happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to another great Lunch and Learn with Broward County's Purchasing Division. Today we have sustainability partners. We have Dr. Michael Tari, who is a partner at Sustainability Partners SP, where he's responsible for developing and delivering the firm's infrastructure services to governments, ports, universities, schools, hospitals, and other durable entities. Michael is SB State Steward for Florida and resides with his family just outside of Jacksonville. So we have Michael, or Dr. Michael, as I'm calling him, here with us today to go ahead and speak about sustainability partners. So without further ado.
Thank you very much, Alexa, for that kind introduction. And thank you, everybody, for joining this afternoon. Uh, my colleague, Terry Duffy, was set to join us, but is actually in the midst of some travel and could not join. So I'm going to have to go, excuse me, go it alone, as they say. But I'm sure this is a very friendly crowd, so that shouldn't be a problem. I have a presentation that I can go through, but I always, sort of find that kind of dry, and I'd much rather keep this, more conversational, if you will. So maybe I can start that way with just a little bit of background about sustainability partners and what we do, and then if we need to look at some slides, we can definitely do that. Um, just for some context, how this sort of lunch and learned happened, and I think it's a credit to the efficiency of Broward County. I was in Tallahassee for Broward Days, and Commissioner Udine was giving a talk, and at the end of that talk, he encouraged everyone from Broward County to meet someone from outside Broward County while they were in Tallahassee. And so afterwards, I went up and I introduced myself and I said, I'm giving you a chance now to sort of eat your own cooking, if you will, live up to what you asked everyone else to do. I'm from Jacksonville. It's very nice to meet you. I'm from this company that deals with infrastructure called Sustainability Partners. And through that conversation, I was introduced to Mr. Gleason, and Mr. Gleason was kind enough with Alexa and the rest of the team to help organize this lunch and learn. So I appreciate that, and all of that basically transpired, in the past, 2 months, let's say, which is a lightning speed for even less than that, I think, which is lightning speed for for a government. So kudos to Broward County for the efficiency with which it works. So, sustainability partners, what do? We provide what's called infrastructure as a service to municipalities, universities, schools, hospitals, HOAs, ports, water districts, durable entities. And so if you're sitting there sort of scratching your head saying, well, what's infrastructure as a service? You wouldn't be the first. It's a concept that's I guess you could say relatively new in the sense that it's being applied to infrastructure, but it's a concept that's pretty old when you think about what a service is. And I'll use an example, of a landscaper, and that's an example that's near and dear to my heart because my wife is in the landscaping industry. So with your landscaper, you generally pay them to cut your lawn, something every month, $50 per month or whatever it may be, for that service. And what your landscaper will do is he will go off or she will go off and first of all pull together all of the stuff that's required to provide that service: the lawnmower, the truck, the trailer. Then they will show up and cut your lawn. The landscaper will be responsible to make sure that the lawnmower blade is sharp and that the engine oil is changed and that the trailer's operating and the truck is operating, and make sure that the crew gets to your house and things like that. And then in exchange for that, you will pay the landscaper the monthly fee. And it becomes an easy button for you, an easy button for, getting your yard work done. And infrastructure as a service works in much the same way. So let's assume that there's a school system, and that school system needs air conditioners. And in one example, let's assume the school system doesn't have the money for that HVAC project. The school system could have the money, and we can talk about that in a minute. But let's assume in this particular case they don't have the money for the HVAC project, and they decide to get that HVAC as a service from Sustainability Partners. Well, what we'll do is we'll go out and we'll procure the HVAC equipment. We'll oversee the installation. We will be responsible to keep the HVAC reliable, safe, performing, right? And I can get into details of exactly how we do that, whether we work with the school and their existing staff, or whether we hire outside people to help with that, or a combination of both. But in any event, we're responsible to make sure that the HVAC is working properly and efficiently. Excuse me. And then what we'll do is we'll bill the school every month. And if there's a problem, the school will pick up the phone and call us, and we will rectify the problem. And in exchange for that, like I said, we'll bill the school every month, but we kind of become the easy button for that piece of infrastructure. Just like the landscaper is the easy button for getting your lawn taken care of, or just like your electric company is the easy button for getting electricity, right? And that's another way to think about what we do at Sustainability Partners. We wrap a utility model, a utility-like model around stuff, and do that for schools, like I said, or municipalities, universities. And that stuff can be just about any type of stuff. It could be HVAC, it could be electric vehicles and chargers, it could be a water treatment plant, it could be a roof, a window, it could be artificial turf and lighting. Just about any stuff you can think of is stuff that we currently traffic in or would provide as a service. So, maybe with that, I will take a breath and see if there's any questions. And I know sometimes it's a little hard on these large forums, but I'm sure we can keep it organized. If someone has questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. It's very hard for me to tell if I'm being eloquent enough. So if anyone has questions, please ask.
Hey, Michael, this is Bob. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
So thanks for your time today and presenting to this audience here. Just so you know, we've got individuals who are from purchasing, but we also have some individuals who are part of our using agencies. And so if you can give sort of a broad brush on the different pieces of infrastructure that you guys work with in other jurisdictions, other localities across the country, and how that's worked, I think it might be beneficial for this audience, especially those with the using agencies who have the infrastructure that you're referring to.
Sure. Thanks, Bob, and thanks for helping organize the meeting again. And yeah, so just to give you guys some sort of concrete examples, we're doing electric vehicles, charging stations, and microgrids for the state of Hawaii. We have done a water treatment plant and are in the midst of doing a lift station for Jacksonville University here in good old Jacksonville, Florida. We are doing water meters in Jackson, Mississippi, Lake Charles, Louisiana, and a small local government here in Florida as well, just outside of Sebring. We have done artificial turf and lighting in many locations, over 1 million square feet of artificial turf and lighting, parks kind of stuff, both for Baton Rouge recreations, as well as for, and also including a city named Crowley, Louisiana. We did 9 baseball fields and a baseball stadium for them. We've done HVAC and lighting for a school district just outside of Chicago in East Aurora, Illinois. We are doing a wastewater treatment plant for a city called Ville Platte, which is in Louisiana. And so that's an example of the stuff we've done. We've also done bathrooms, windows, roofs, We're in the midst of doing an elevator project here in Florida as well for a private university. Just about anything you can think of, we would love to deliver as a service. But those are some of the things that we've done to date. And we're doing broadband for Louisiana State University, so that's another one. That's sort of a different pillar, communications infrastructure. We've done fencing as well, sort of hardening infrastructure. So those are some of the examples. And I should also point out for the sort of the more financially focused people that might be on the call, because of our model and because we're a service, we are actually an operating expense under GASB. We are not a capital expense. So some CFOs, financial directors, things like that, like our model because we do not impact the entity's capital stack. We are not bonding. We are truly a service. And one of the things that makes us a service, just allow me to add, is that with our contract, there is it has a 30-day term. So if for whatever reason our customer wants to cancel with us, they can cancel with us with 30 days notice at any time after the project is complete. And there is no penalty for cancellation. There's a very simple buyout option that a third party determines the buyout price. So it's not us. It's determined by a third party, and the metric used will never be more than the original project cost, which we're transparent about. We do open book accounting. There's also the option to take out the infrastructure and return it to us, which would be a very, very bad day for us, because in the air conditioners in a school example, we would be getting back used air conditioners, which wouldn't be good. And just while I'm sort of off in the weeds a little bit, I just want to make it clear, we are not investors. We try to find the most efficient form of capital. Sometimes that capital actually comes from the governmental entity. For example, in the state of Hawaii, we did 50 electric vehicles using third-party outside capital, but the next 150 we're using Hawaii's capital. So these are some of the features of our model that may or may not be important. I know to certain people on the call. I know we have a broad audience, so I'm trying to touch on sort of the financial aspects as well as the practical aspects of our model. So maybe I'll take another breath there and see if there's any other questions, or if Bob, if I answered your question well enough.
No, that was perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So any other folks out there in TV land? Are there any sort of other questions or things that I may have said that might not be completely clear, which wouldn't be the first time?
No, it's usually a pretty quiet group here, but let's see if anybody jumps into the conversation.
If anyone wants to raise their hand.
I did invite our fleet manager who does have some electrical vehicle infrastructure. I'm not seeing him on the line, but I do see Tim Garling from Transit. So, he might. Do you guys do buses by any chance?
Yeah, we're doing electric buses for Honolulu Airport through HDOT, through the Hawaii Department of Transportation. So we're going to do school buses as well, electric school buses. If anybody wants a model for moving to electrification, the only thing you need to do is look to the state of Hawaii. They have vowed to come off, a liquid fuel, and they're doing it. They are completely becoming electrified. And to generate the electricity, they're actually looking at ways to burn the trash that's already on the island. We worked with them to come up with a calculation. They have something like 60 years worth of electricity to power the government fleets if they just can convert the garbage basically to electricity. So we're looking at that infrastructure for them as well. But an interesting thing with Hawaii is that we're doing everything from little electric four-wheel vehicles that run around inside the airport through, fleet sedans, through cargo vans, through buses, and even an electric garbage truck. So we've with our contract with the state of Hawaii, our partnership with them, we've become very familiar with a plethora of electrification or electric vehicles, as well as the charging stations and the storage technology that's going to be required.
Mhm.
So good. So if there's no questions, I'll get a little bit deeper sort of into the weeds, because it seems like everyone's sort of getting it from a bigger picture.
Can I ask one quick question before
Of course.
before we leave the vehicle stuff?
Sure. Of course.
What's going on with propane, natural gas types of fleet stuff? Is there anything going on with that industry?
We do not have any projects that involve those. We would be happy to look at them. A few years ago in Jacksonville, they put in a propane or a natural gas station for some natural gas buses, because there was an initiative to do that. But I think, my sense is that, the tide has turned, at least for now. And if people are going to switch infrastructure, they're going to switch to electrification infrastructure rather than, propane or natural gas. And so I think that has kind of been put on the back burner. There hasn't been a lot of, although it can be very clean, right? It ends up creating water, right? Because you get very efficient combustion. It is maybe dirty, or there's fracking involved with getting the stuff out of the ground. So it has its own challenges. And I think people are just so focused on, how do we switch to electric infrastructure that, doing other types of infrastructure may not be getting the thoughtfulness that it was a couple of years ago.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. I appreciate that. I appreciate it, Bob. So, just to kind of reiterate and go a little more sort of off into the weeds, again, we generally find a community that has some sort of infrastructure need, and that need could be funding, but it could also be a bandwidth need. So there is a county that's close to Broward, and I was speaking to the COO of the schools in that county, and basically, explaining our model, and they sort of looked at me and said, well, we have the funding to do what we need to do. And I said, I know that, I get it. You don't have a funding problem, but what you have is a bandwidth problem. And that's really where we can help. So just going back to my landscaper example, you could be a person that has their own equipment, their own lawnmower, their own weed whacker, and maybe you pay someone just to come and operate that equipment and to cut your lawn and to maintain that equipment, to make sure that the lawnmower blade is sharp and that the belt is changed and whatever other service it needs is done. And so in that case, that would be very, very similar to us using Hawaii's capital to purchase the electric vehicles and charging stations and microgrid infrastructure. And in that case, if the landscaper was using your equipment, your monthly bill would be lower. So we are very, very agnostic to the type to where the funding comes from. We just want to find the most efficient form of funding for our clients, because overall what we're trying to do is we're trying to lower the cost, not the instantaneous buying, not the instantaneous price, but the overall cost of the infrastructure, the year-on-year cost of the infrastructure. So the first way we do that is we try to find the most efficient form of capital that we can. The second way we do that is we buy robust equipment up front. We don't go for lowest bid. And so we're agnostic to the brand of equipment. So if the school says that wanted air conditioners, if they say they want Trane over Carrier, or to be fair, Carrier over Trane, we're okay with either of those. But what we won't do is we won't buy the cheapest model, because we know the cheapest model may have the lowest initial cost, might cost you the least out of pocket today. But when you look at the year-over-year cost of that asset, it's going to be less if you buy a better piece of equipment up front, and very important, and you maintain it, right? And that's the third thing we do. So we find the most efficient form of capital. We purchase robust equipment up front. We maintain that robust equipment, right? And we're keeping a little money, which it's not our money. It actually belongs to the partner, the client, the city the school that we're working with. We're keeping a little money set aside for reserve to make sure that that piece of equipment can be properly maintained. So by doing all of that, and turning things into a service model, we are doing our best to lower the life cycle cost of that piece of equipment. And it's not that the folks that work for cities are not good at purchasing. It's not that the folks that work for cities are not good at maintaining, but it's just been my observation that a lot of times, many times, they're very conscientious, but they're just put in a very, very difficult situation. Their budgets are constrained either on purchasing or maintenance, right? The piece of equipment that they have hasn't been maintained because that's been going on further. They're being asked to do a million things at once, right? And so what we're trying to do is come in and, by offering the infrastructure as a service, alleviate those problems and be sort of an extra set of hands to the school or municipality or university, or whatever the partner may be, whoever our partner may be that extra set of hands when it comes to infrastructure. So we're going to try to find efficient capital, buy better stuff up front, maintain that stuff, reserve for it so that we can maintain it, and by doing that, lower the overall year over year cost of using that infrastructure. And this is not, we're not geniuses or pioneers in that sense. The utility companies, right? Good, well-run utilities and well-run districts and counties and things like that have been doing that already. So a well-run utility will do the same thing, and try to do those same things. And so we're just wrapping that proven utility model around stuff that you wouldn't normally think of as a utility, but just to sort of shift your thinking a little bit, or give you something to think about. Electricity or water, everyone realizes that's consumed. It's a consumable, right? And so the electricity is consumed in fractions of a second. A glass of water is consumed in a minute, right? Even food that we consume, I'm sorry. So that electricity and water we buy as a collective. We usually purchase through a utility. And even food that's consumed, we purchase through a collective. We just happen to call it a supermarket, but it's really like a co-op. So we're sort of bringing that same mindset to an HVAC system or a roof, right? We look at that and say, well, that is consumed, right? That's really not an asset. It's not going to go up in value, right? An asset is something that goes up in value, like land, right? That's really not an asset. It's something that's consumed. So since it's a consumable, we should deliver this as a service through a utility model. So I don't know if that helps sort of make more sense of what we're doing, but that's kind of how we become the easy button for infrastructure, for communities that don't have the funding or don't have the bandwidth, to install/maintain the infrastructure the way it should be maintained.
Okay, Michael, there's a question in the chat. Can you please address the financing aspects of what and how Sustainability Partners system works and benefits are to the public body short and long term?
Sure, and thank you for that. That's a great question. So, like I said, we are agnostic to where the financing or the capital comes from. We can use the capital of the city or the state, like we're doing with Hawaii, and then with Hawaii, we're using their capital. We're going out and purchasing the vehicles for them. We're being responsible for them. We become like an asset manager, purely an asset manager in that case. And sooner or later it will come up, well, how does Sustainability Partners make money? We make money very simply. We charge a fixed fee, an asset management fee. That's very small. It's 0.8%, 8,000 per million, 0.008 times the project cost. So 8,000 per million of project, I should have said per year. So that's how we make our money. And that's what we're making in Hawaii. And the other thing we can do though, if there is a capital need, is we can go out and raise the capital from an investor. And generally our investors are they're all long-term investors. Generally, they're large investors that are sitting on a lot of cash, like a pension fund or an insurance company. And they're looking for a stable type of a low risk, return. So we can go out and raise that capital, purchase the equipment. So we could raise the capital to purchase the electric vehicles for Hawaii. And in that case, baked into Hawaii's bill every month will be part of their bill will be paying back that investor and their return on that investment. And the reason why that can be beneficial to a public entity, it's twofold. Well, first, the public entity might not have any more bonding capacity or might not be in a position to raise any more capital. So in that case, we're bringing outside third-party capital into the community that wouldn't normally be there. In the second case, we become sort of a form of off-balance sheet capital. So even if you have the ability to raise capital, we're not impacting that ability. We are not debt. We're an operational cost. So in that case, we're preserving balance sheet for the community. And in both of those examples, since our contract is a 30-day contract that can be canceled anytime. We hope that doesn't happen. We want to make you a raving fan. But if our contract is but if our contract's not canceled, when the stuff wears out, we just replace it. So when the air conditioners in the school wear out, we will go to the school and say, it's time to replace these air conditioners. If you want to cancel with us and do the buyout's going to be very low. It's going to be $1 because there's no life left in these air conditioners. If you like us and want to keep getting the air conditioners as a service, we'll simply replace them and we'll keep billing you every month for the usage of the air conditioners. And so in that scenario, we're a benefit to the community because that outside capital we bring to the community, that additional capital we bring outside of the community's bonding capacity is perpetual, right? So we will bring a form of capital to the community through our model that is perpetual and that stays in the community. And so we will refresh all of the assets when they need to be refreshed, as long as the client doesn't want to cancel with us. And the client canceling is the client. It's at the client's option, not our option. If we cancel on the client, they get to keep all the stuff. So we're generally not, I can't think of a scenario where we would want to cancel. I guess a client could have some nice stuff from us and try to be a pain or something and get us to cancel the contract. But yeah, so if we cancel, we leave you with the stuff. But I don't see that happening because again, we're not making money off of the capital. We're earning our small asset management fee. And I should also mention that we don't make any money off of the stuff. So if an air conditioner for a school costs $1,000 and the school's utility bill is X, well, if I'm able to negotiate and get that air conditioner for $900, the school's utility bill goes down to 90% of X. I don't mark that air conditioner up to $1,000. I don't keep that $100. Where whatever we purchase at becomes the cost of the project, and we don't own any construction company or engineering firm or contracting company or vendor or anything like that. Like I said, we're agnostic. We try to work across all vendors, and because we do that, we can many times negotiate national discounts, like we've done with Tesla, like we've done with Chevy, like we've done with Train, so that all of our partners, all of the communities that we work with can benefit from those from those discounts. And we don't mark the stuff up, so those discounts get passed directly through. So I hope that answers the question in the chat, maybe a little bit long-winded.
Okay, another question. Can you point us to any other contracts you have with governmental entities that might be used cooperatively? Example, GSA, Value Point, Sourcewell, et cetera.
Absolutely. So we have a contract with the Purchasing Cooperative of America, PCA. PCA is part of a state agency in Texas. Any a Texas state agency, any municipality, school, university, hospital can join the PCA. And we've won a contract to provide infrastructure as a service to members of the PCA. So I know Miami-Dade County, and I'm not trying to start a little competition here, but friendly rivalry, but Miami-Dade County is a member of the PCA. City of Miami is a member of the PCA. City of Jacksonville, which means Duval County, is also a member of the PCA. Jacksonville Transportation Authority is a member of the PCA. And so by being a member of the PCA, our infrastructure as a services, right, can be purchased directly through the PCA because we've already won a contract there to provide infrastructure as a service. And then there is also other, there's the contract with the state of Hawaii, contract with the state of Louisiana, contract with a local government in Florida, all depending on, the local piggybacking rules can be piggybacked or might be able to be piggybacked, if the city attorney or the county attorney or the school attorney thinks it's appropriate.
Okay, well, that looks like all of the questions that we have, Michael. And in the interest of time, I guess 12:35. Is there does anyone have any additional questions that they would like to ask? If you want to come off mute, I'll pause for about a minute and see if there's anything else. Okay, not seeing anything else in the chat.
So let me just say something real quick, Alexa. This what Michael and Sustainability Partners is offering seems to me to be fairly unique and not something that I have encountered. And that's like 30 years of public procurement. So it's an alternative. It's unique and it's an alternative. It's like a tool in the toolbox. So there's the traditional ways of doing things, and sometimes somebody comes up with a different wrench that we can always explore using if the applicability suits. So I very much appreciate Michael presenting their solution. We used to have when I was a part of a procurement association, we used to have what's your solution? And so Michael has presented a solution that is looking for or has problems or situations that might be applicable. And I appreciate the time that he spent putting this together and presenting this to our audience. So I'll stop, be quiet, and thank you very much, Alexa. If any of our using agencies have any final questions, give them a final opportunity.
Thank you, Bob. If anyone has, can we exercise option for public purchase avoiding sales tax?
Can we exercise option? The short answer is yes. That can pass through to us. Your sales tax exemption can pass through to us, right? If that was okay. Has your company worked with partners that have utilized federal or grant funds? Great question. Great question. I guess is that Mr. Wendell or Miss? I'm not sure. Anyway, I apologize. I don't know if it's Jean or Jean, but anyway, I apologize. But great question. So yes, we have we can be matching funds for grants, and we have explored that and looked at that before with Northeast Texas Railways, where they needed to come up with I don't know, $10 million of their own, and they were going to get $10 million in grants for intermodal infrastructure. So we can act as the matching funds for grants, and we can also be helpful in applying for grants. We have a team of people within the firm that has done that for other communities, including Hawaii, across the country. That's how Hawaii got the money that they're sort of giving to us now, is through a NEVI grant. And so we were helping them apply for that NEVI grant.
Okay. Well, thank you, Michael, for coming and speaking with us today in our Lunch and Learn. We really appreciate your time. And thank you for everyone who joined. As I said before, the session was recorded. So if any of you would like to share the information, we will send a link after the session to our Lunch and Learn playlist. Thank you, guys, and have a fantastic Friday.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.